Do you like teenage girls?
When you say teenage, how old are we talking?
Girls who are teenagers.
Rolex on your wrist, a plain giant.
For someone to come home with me, all you have to do is be
Quit playing. I didn't do this stuff. But just use your common sense. This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. This is not about music.
Yes, indeed. Y'all know things are always sticky in Hollywood and in real life. We're back, okay? It's your girl Jane, the plainest Jane, and we got some syrup to get into today. So come on, everyone, have a seat on the bus. Give the video a thumbs up as I pay today's co-host. Okay, buddy, give me a chance. Give me a chance. Can you give me a chance? Leo, give me one more. Can I please get a chance to pour it out first? Please, sir. Okay, you're supposed to eat one at a time. Your digestion is gonna be off the hook. You just swallowed those 2 treats without even chewing. What's going on? You've got to chew things up. My God. But the co-host here doesn't want to chew his food anymore. So when he's later on, I'm going to have to worry about that. That's it. No, that's definitely it. You ate 2 and you didn't chew them up. Get it together. All right. Get out the way, buddy. Can you get down? Thank you. All right. Y'all know things are always sticky. So let's get into it as you hit thumbs up on this video, because hitting thumbs up is a way that you can donate to the show for free. Keep in mind, you are welcome to send a Cash App or a Super Chat or Super Thanks. All of those things are appreciated the same, honestly, as a thumbs up. But if you decide to monetarily support the channel, because I do such hard work between working my 9 to 5, taking care of my son, dealing with my audio tech, and putting together these R. Kelly shows, that stuff is greatly appreciated as well. But you know, if you've been following, today is day 3 of the R. Kelly trial in Chicago. You know that yesterday we covered the jury selection, and I went over the backgrounds, the ethnicities of each and every one of the jurors, and we also got into some of the racial challenges and discrepancies that transpired in the courtroom as well. So it is important that you watch all the videos, subscribe, turn on those notifications, so that you're not left lost watching a certain day and you don't know what transpired the day before. Okay? As a lot of us know by now, there was some mild drama in the courtroom yesterday with fire, police, and ambulance. Okay, none of that today, right? No fire, police, no ambulance, no EMTs at the courtroom. But 11 months after R. Kelly's conviction and just 7 weeks after his sentencing, he is back in court again in Chicago facing this trial, which is almost kind of sort of like a redo of the trial from the between 2002 and 2008. However, it's not double jeopardy. We know that these are different crimes, similar but different crimes, because R. Kelly has done this so much. There's so many different tapes that he has created. These are different crimes that he has committed that relate to the same victim, but even more, right? So there are 4 tapes that this trial is focused on, 5 victims that this trial is focused on, multiple tapes, multiple victims, and other charges that weren't even known to the courts at the time. They weren't even a factor when the trial in 2008 transpired. So in today's video, we're going to be covering a play-by-play of what happened in court today. And let me just say, the mudslinging has begun, okay? The mudslinging has begun. We're going to get into some of the opening arguments. Let me just tell you this. The opening arguments were definitely strong and comical. Strong and comical. We're going to get into that in just a moment. Also, someone ends up getting clowned in the courtroom for their online degree. Aaliyah's uncle gets exposed, if you want to call it, based on one of the defendant's allegations and accusations. R. Kelly's attorney attempts to waste the jurors' time And the judge literally tells her, move on, Bone Jean. That happens in today's trial. We're going to get into that. 3 witnesses actually took the stand. We're going to get into each one of their testimonies. And also, I Believe I Can Fly was literally played in court, baby. So when I tell you we're in for a ride, jury selection was a little boring, right? It's starting to get a little spicy. Not to mention R. Kelly fans in the courtroom, desperate, trying to get his attention. Okay, desperate. We'll get into whether they got his attention, if they didn't get his attention, as we continue on in this video. Y'all know I have all of the information, all of the tea for you all. So listen, make sure you come on in, have a seat on the bus, hit thumbs up. It's 155 of us here already. Thank you so much. Thank you for paying your fare on my bus. It's free to ride the bus, but all you gotta do is hit thumbs up, right? I ain't asking you for no pennies, nickels, or dimes. But if you send something, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So shout out to everybody in the live chat. Special shout out to my moderators and my channel members. Y'all definitely mean a lot to me. My moderators are working hard. The channel members, y'all are dope. You know, we had that Beyonce bingo box giveaway, and I need to go through that information and pick out which 3 of you, or figure out which 3 of you are the winners of the Beyonce box giveaway, since 3 of y'all are winning that. And that contest is closed. If you're a channel member and you haven't already entered the Beyonce box giveaway, it's too late. Okay. So nonetheless, let's go ahead and get ready for takeoff, shall we?
The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some black, and she said, loves me some black news. She says, is it just me, or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out?
All right, you know, I always feel obligated, and it's only right that I give you a trigger warning. If we're talking about R. Kelly and the discrepancies and accusations that have followed him for literally just about 3 decades now, it's only right that I give you a trigger warning, because he's obviously just a nasty ass somebody. And we may go over elements of teenagers being sexually abused by R. Kelly. So the trigger warning is there for anyone who was triggered by such things. But real quick, I hope y'all are feeling all right. Okay. Y'all know I always mention mental health. Check in on yourself. If you're not okay, if your world is falling apart, click away from the video. You won't catch a lot of content creators telling you to, and Leo clearly agrees. Right? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Don't be watching us if you need to be worried about what's going on in your real world with your life. Check on your invisible problems. Make sure your spiritual warfare has been addressed, and then proceed with getting into R. Kelly and his nasty mess in this trial, right? Shout out to my new subscribers. We're at about 12.5K. So we're like a little less than 500 away from, is it 13K? Is that where we are? Yeah, we're less than 500 away from 13K. That means a lot. I really appreciate y'all. Okay. And of course, before I get into breaking down today's topics and viral events, make sure you subscribe and thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. But don't forget to think critically and independently, regardless of what you hear from me or anybody else. Now, let's get right into it. I just want to make it pretty clear to everyone that some of the counts against R. Kelly involved videotape evidence. Obviously, we've got 4 different tapes that are a part of this trial. We'll get into how many the jury will have access to and they'll be able to see, and how many they won't be able to see. We all know what's on the tapes, right? But we know that videotaped evidence, it can be pretty difficult to refute. And other counts that aren't based off of the video evidence, they are largely going to rely on witness testimony instead. So that's a whole nother beast as far as refuting witness testimony versus refuting videotaped evidence. Tapes don't lie, child, regardless of what year they were made in. Oh. So let's get started. You know, when I'm covering the R. Kelly trial, or any trial for that matter, I start with outside the courthouse. What's going on? Is there anyone out there? You know, it was a complete and absolute media circus last year when R. Kelly was being tried for sex trafficking and violation of the Mann Act and all this other stuff, right? Nothing. Still nothing outside of the courtroom. However, let me say this. The his attorney, R. Kelly's attorney, is Jennifer Bonjean, right? Inside of the courthouse before things kicked off, Jennifer Bonjean, and this is another woman who works for her law firm. They work with her. Jennifer Bonjean decided to post this on Instagram today, right? Ready to open, they say. And this is her in her purple suit with red shoes. And then her colleague has on a red suit and black shoes. And this is what getting ready to defend a predator looks like. Up close and personal. Some would even call it mental illness. But nonetheless, this is what wanting to defend a predator looks like. We know that Jennifer Bonjean is the same attorney who got Bill Cosby, who was able to get Bill Cosby released from jail, prison as well. Okay. So we talk about To Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen. This is To Defend a Predator with Jennifer Bonjean. Now, let me get her raggedy ass off my screen. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to R. Kelly inside of the courtroom, because obviously he was present. He was present during the jury selection in days 1 and 2. Obviously, he's here today as well. And actually, R. Kelly sat at, and you can see actually, there's only been one artist so far with the R. Kelly sketches, right? They even drew in a bald spot in the middle. I'm wondering if R. Kelly is really losing hair in the middle of his head, this trial wearing him down, or what's going on. R. Kelly has always had a lot of hair, but there definitely seems to be, let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that's a bald spot. Yep, that's a bald spot. But nonetheless, R. Kelly was present in court today. He was hunched over at the defense table throughout the openings. Yesterday he had on gray. Today he was dressed in a dark blue suit and a light blue tie, and he was wearing black eyeglasses. Now, for the most part, he appeared to be fixing his gaze straight ahead. This is pretty on brand for R. Kelly, because last year, during the trial, he did the same thing. It was almost kind of like he was too ashamed. At least that's the inference, is that he's too ashamed to make eye contact with the jury. Making eye contact with the jury can be a great thing when you're trying to influence them with your perceived innocence, right? It lets them know that you're locked in, you're engaged, and you're willing to at least have some nonverbal communication with them. R. Kelly is never really willing to do that. Maybe because he got some guilt hanging over there, but he was just determined to just look straight forward. His gaze was straight ahead, even when his attorney reintroduced him to the jury who was sitting on his left in the courtroom. So when your attorney is introducing you, who they're supposed to be fighting for your innocence, the very least you can do as a common courtesy is look at the attorney so that they can get some of those, that body language and those cues from you. R. Kelly is incapable, right? So also, with regards to regret Kelly, I'm sorry, R. Kelly. He shook his head slightly at some of the prosecutor's opening remarks throughout today's session, and particularly when the prosecutor alleged that one witness named Lisa was afraid that he would physically abuse her. That's when he started shaking his head in a no motion, right? So Lisa was afraid that he would physically abuse her if he found out that she'd taken his sex tape. Now, during his attorney's opening remarks, he nodded his head and shook his head yes when she told the jury, look, we're not expecting any special treatment. We don't expect or want you to give any special treatment to Robert. We're just asking for a fair trial and that y'all follow the law. At that point, R. Kelly began to nod his head yes. Okay, so that is what is going on there. Keep in mind the juror pool has changed just a bit, right? Yesterday, I reported, which it was accurate, it was true, but there was a change today. It's literally half and half black, half white, 6 black, 6 whites. Today, it changed based on juror availability, and an alternate juror had to step in. So I want to talk about that momentarily. Okay. When the court started off, it didn't have the most promising sort of feel to it based off of what it was that the judge had to say. So let me put this on the screen so you can see this while we get into our next part. Okay. Right. So Judge Lenny actually, and that's what I'm gonna just call him Judge Lenny, because his name is Judge Lennon Weber, and that's very long, right? We be calling him Judge Lenny behind the scenes. He starts off with an announcement that things are never intended to be easy. That is a dreaded statement, right? If a judge is starting off a court proceeding with things are never intended to be easy, it foreshadows some less than positive news or circumstances that may be into play. And that was definitely true as it pertains to the jurors not being present, at least not all 12 of them in attendance when the session first started. So when I talk about the juror pool changing from literally half and half, 6 black, 6 white, one of the jurors actually called in sick, as you could say. This was a black woman, right? She said she was having leg problems. She said that she can't sit or walk. So she was actually one of the jurors that the feds tried to remove from R. Kelly's side, or from the juror pool, until R. Kelly's side challenged the strike and had her restored to the panel. However, her leg problem, she said, listen, I can't sit and I can't stand. I don't want no parts of this, right? That's my thought, is I don't want no parts of this. Because how you just suddenly figure out that you got leg problems, you can't sit or stand. So what you doing all day? If you ain't sitting or standing all day, if you can't sit or stand, and baby, what you doing? Laying down on your stomach, on your back? What's going on? I don't know, but I don't blame you for not wanting to have nothing to do with this. But you could have came up with a better excuse when you were sitting there, a part of the jury pool, and says something like, I seen it all. I can't be fair because he's a monster. You could have did that earlier. Okay. But nonetheless, she was removed from the jury and replaced with an alternate juror. You know, they chose 6 alternate jurors and 12 of the permanent jury. She was replaced by a white woman. Okay. So now we have a 7-5 as opposed to a 6-6 as it pertains to how many folks we have on the, with the race Libra scale, where we are with that. 2 jurors were stuck on a late metro train, but eventually the jurors did finally arrive, and then opening statements begun, right? So, it's almost 300 of us in here. We got 139 thumbs up. Are we paying our fare? Are we being fair to Jane? Are we paying our fare? Hey, thanks for letting me keep you connected and in the know with what's happening in the Black world. Don't forget to smash on that like button for support and for more Black news. Leo, I'm not talking to you, Leo. Leo, we are not talking to you. Okay? Just make sure. I thought I saw. Okay. Thank you so much, Tony, for sending the $5 super sticker. I really appreciate that. And shout out to Leah for sending a $20 super chat. I really appreciate that. It says, you're the best girl. I can't wait to see the show. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate y'all's monetary support of the show. And look, if this ain't your pay week, just hit the thumbs up. It's free, right? Let's get into opening statements. This is where it begins to really get juicy. These opening statements. The prosecution starts, obviously, that's how it goes. And the prosecution ends up saying the defendant, right? Like I said, these things are strong, so buckle in, right? Prosecution opens up with the defendant, Robert Kelly, had sex with multiple children. He made videotapes of himself having sex with children, and these 2 defendants, Derrel McDavid and Milton Brown, knew about it. And he kept those videos close because if the world found out that he was having sex with children, he'd be in a lot of trouble and it would ruin his career, the government says. They continue with Kelly had another side, a hidden side, a dark side that he, along with the help of McDavid and Brown, the 2 co-defendants in this case, did not allow the world to see for years. So then the prosecution gets to naming all 5 different victims via pseudonyms, right? Some of them, a majority of them, right? There are 5 of them. We already kind of know who they are, especially Jane. Look, not me, child, not me, but specifically the pseudonym Jane in this case. And I know they requested to utilize pseudonyms to kind of lessen the harassment and the scrutiny that they would receive personally, just online or in life in general. However, we certainly know for a fact that Jane, as it pertains to this trial, refers to Sparkle's niece, okay? Nonetheless, the prosecution moved forward and started naming off 5 victims via pseudonym. They said Jane, Tracy, Nia, Brittany, and Pinky. They're all going to tell you what happened to them, basically saying that all 5 of these victims are going to testify here today. You won't have to listen to hearsay through other people. The prosecution begins to explain to jurors that they'll have to watch videos of graphic sexual abuse of one of R. Kelly's alleged victims, who is Sparkle's niece. The prosecution says, and I quote, "The videos are difficult to watch, but it is important for you all to watch those videos to understand what happened." You're also going to hear from Sparkle's niece herself about the videos. She's going to testify. Also, they go ahead and they say, right? The prosecutor makes it known, listen, keep an ear out. Remember yesterday, I was telling y'all about how R. Kelly in one of these tapes, and I literally remember when these sex tapes were being pushed on the streets when I was in school. They were selling these things. So a lot of people have seen it, okay? And you could hear, and I remember some stuff. R. Kelly says numerous times throughout these videos, "Give me this 14-year-old PUSSY. Yeah, give me that 14-year-old ASS hole." Like he's saying this, just repeatedly throughout the whole thing, right? So the prosecutor, bearing this in mind, he literally had to say it maybe a total of 10, maybe, and actually probably a little more. It was like it was on repeat. So when the prosecutors go ahead and say you're going to hear from Sparkle's niece about these videos, I want you to keep an ear out. The prosecution says to the jury pool specifically, keep an ear out while you're watching these videos for just how many times R. Kelly and Sparkle's niece discuss her age as being 14 years old. Okay? The government also says R. Kelly had sex with Sparkle's niece's friends, too. One who was 16, another one was 14 and 15 at the time. Prosecutors say, here's where trouble starts brewing for R. Kelly, McDavid, and Brown. A video of R. Kelly and Sparkle's niece leaked to the public in late 2001/early 2002. The prosecutor says that R. Kelly sent Sparkle's niece and her family out of the country for a month, all expenses paid. Sparkle's niece, her mother, is expected to also tell jurors that she feared for her family's physical safety when the video of R. Kelly and her child went public in 2002. Sparkle's niece also got a tattoo with R. Kelly's name inside of a heart around this time. Now, because there are 3 people on trial right now. You've got R. Kelly, you've got Brown, and you've got McDavid. Brown and McDavid are 2 of R. Kelly's former colleagues and employees. Now, one of the co-defendants, Brown, took Sparkle's niece to have the tattoo covered up. McDavid, another one of the co-defendants, also discussed with Sparkle's niece getting rid of the necklace that she wore in the video because it also appeared in her passport photo, which was part of the reason why it was so easy to identify her when it came to a detective who did take the stand today, who was able to testify and confirm, like, look, this is the girl from the tape. Why? Because that detective had gotten an anonymous tip from someone saying, hey, R. Kelly's having sex with kids. You need to go check this out. They actually named what kid it was. So the detective went and they interviewed Sparkle's niece at the time before the tape came out. And Sparkle's niece just denied this whole situation. By the time the tape came out, the detective who interviewed Sparkle's niece and then took a look at the video said, this is literally the same woman that I interviewed that said this never happened. But that's coming a little bit later. So now they're focused on, once they get past the fact that this is the same necklace from her passport photo. The passport photo was taken around the same time of the video in question. R. Kelly is said to have became Sparkle's niece's family's main and only source of income. Okay. So as the prosecution is talking about Lisa, who had sex with R. Kelly and Sparkle's niece, Lisa says that she was just 18 when she met R. Kelly in 1998. Having had, quote, just crossed the threshold. The Lisa in question is Lisa Van Allen. Here's what I can say about Lisa Van Allen. Prior to this trial, Lisa had always maintained, because I got to be fair. You know, I despise R. Kelly. He's still wrong as the day is long. He is. However, this is the first time that Lisa confirmed on the record that she was 18 and she was of legal age when she had intimate relations with R. Kelly. Prior to that, it was always that she was 17, that she was 17, that she was a minor, right? So that's one of the inconsistencies that I know that the PHOB, they just love to just hold on to the inconsistencies. This is one inconsistency in the whole, situation, of which there are a few, but it doesn't make R. Kelly any more or less innocent here, honestly. Like, he's still a creep, right? If you decide I'm going to fuck this girl when she's 18 in a day or whatever, you've still been preying on her since she was a child. But, nonetheless, this is a fact here. But when it comes to Lisa Van Allen, apparently R. Kelly told her to strip down and get in a jacuzzi before talking to her. And to be clear, an 18-year-old is no different than a 17-year-old. You're still trash if you're targeting people at that age. Like, there's no different in the maturity level between a 17-year-old and an 8-year-old. However, I do have to be clear, be fair, and clearly state that this is the first time on the record she's admitting this, right? Prior to, she kept saying she was 17. So the prosecutor who was speaking gets more into the details and the ins and outs of the wide-ranging efforts allegedly made to track down and retrieve the tapes of R. Kelly having sex with Sparkle's niece in the lead up to R. Kelly's 2008 child pornography trial, right? And shout out to all 375 of us here right now. Thank y'all so much. And make sure y'all hit the thumbs up button, okay? So when we talk about the wide-ranging efforts allegedly made to track down and retrieve the tapes of R. Kelly having sex with Sparkle's niece that led up to the 2008 child pornography trial, it also includes a series of payoffs to get the tapes back. So the prosecution is saying, quote, Sparkle's niece is going to tell you that R. Kelly kept her hidden away. This is the woman who was a girl at the time. She was 14 at the time. R. Kelly's having sex with her in her home. He's even urinating on her in this video. So Sparkle's niece is going to tell you that R. Kelly kept her hidden away in hotels and other places throughout the 2008 criminal trial. R. Kelly was acquitted in that state case in 2008, but Robert, McDavid, and Brown, all three of the defendants in this case, they still had to keep their secrets, end quote. So when Rashonda Lamfair and her family, Sparkle's niece and her family, got back, they lied to authorities about the tape at R. Kelly's behest, right? They're claiming that they were being directed, right? Now, the prosecutor informs the jury that they're going to see videos 1, 2, 3, but not video 4. Remember, I told you the title of day 1 was 4 tapes, 5 victims, right? So jurors are going to have the ability to see videos 1, 2, and 3, but not 4. And I want you to stick a thumbtack in video number 4 and how jurors won't be able to see it in R. Kelly's defense and how they're going to mention that, right? So stick a thumbtack and them not being able to see video number 4. And video number 4 allegedly depicts R. Kelly having sex with Sparkle's niece, who is now an adult woman. And so they're saying that it won't be shown. They quote reasons in saying because efforts to cover up in some ways, right? Efforts to cover up, speaking of R. Kelly and his camp, efforts that R. Kelly and his camp took to cover this up, in some ways they were successful because the defendants managed to get video 4 back, okay? So instead of them seeing video 4, witnesses will testify about having seen said video. What it really sounds like to me is, double jeopardy is a thing. R. Kelly has done so many other things that are so similar to what he was held in trial for before. Video 4 could very well not exist anymore, or they may want to avoid presenting it in court because of double jeopardy. However, do you really need video 4 considering all of the testimony and the surplus of other tapes at your disposal, right? So there are some conspiracies about why video 4 isn't available, and we'll get into that a little bit later as R. Kelly's defense decides to touch on that. Shout out to Jamaica Cassidy. Okay, thank you for becoming a member. Don't forget to check the membership tab so you can see exclusive posts and videos that are just for you that everyone else doesn't have access to. So, like I said, they won't be able to see video 4. Witnesses will be able to testify about having seen said video. One of the tapes was returned to the co-defendant Milton Brown by a man named Keith Merle. Now, when Keith Merle returned this tape to Milton Brown, who was also standing trial alongside R. Kelly here, Brown told Kevin that he had given them the golden egg. So essentially, they were happy when they got that tape back. They're like, their job is to help protect their homie R. Kelly. They're like, okay, we got this tape back. This is the golden egg here. Now, after McDavid, right? Now, this sentence literally includes all 3 of them. They're getting it back on behalf of Robert. The tape was allegedly given to Milton Brown. But then after McDavid watched the tape, he gave the man Kevin Merle a hug. So R. Kelly and his whole team were grateful that they had allegedly retrieved one of these tapes back that they were looking for, which is part of the reason why they're standing trial today, is because y'all are receiving child pornography. Y'all trying to pay people off and do all these types of things to essentially rig a trial. So the prosecution, the government side, they also remind jurors that the alleged victims are older now, right? Obviously, you're not going to be in court talking to little girls when we're talking about things that happened in 1998. Literally, we're going to get into some 1998 exhibit video, whatever, a little bit later. So the jury is reminded that the alleged victims are older now, and that Rashonda Landfair was 13 or 14 years old when R. Kelly allegedly abused her, but the prosecutor makes it known that Rashonda is 37 years old now, okay? Those are the end of the opening statements for the prosecution. Now we're going to get into the opening statements of R. Kelly and R. Kelly's defense team, okay? This is where it gets comical, right? Because again, I feel like they came in really strong, the prosecution. First thing they say is, the defendant, R. Kelly, has had sex with multiple children. He made videotapes having sex with the children, and his defendants knew about it. He kept them close. He had it they came straight, and he had sex with kids, y'all. Then you get down to R. Kelly and what his defense team got to say. And I'm telling you, his attorney is quite special. And baby, when I say special, I mean not in a good way. Have you ever said something that just didn't make any sense around your parents growing up Black? And they looked at you and said, damn, you special. You real special, ain't you? Yeah, not the compliment type of special, in the other sense of the word, right? This is R. Kelly's attorney. Here she go. She said, there will be some measure of bravery that will be required of you as she talks to the jury. Okay? The jury has got to be brave. I guess it is fucking brave to defend R. Kelly and decide with him when the tapes don't lie. Okay? Some measure of bravery will be required from you. She says many jurors said that they were familiar with R. Kelly and some of the allegations against him. She says, my client, R. Kelly, is entitled to a non-biased jury. And that is a tall order. But you all said you could do it. I say, not you talking to me like you my manager. Baby, I am here getting paid. What is jury duty? You literally get paid $15 a day for jury duty. Girl, who are you talking to? But all right. He's entitled to a non-biased jury. That's a tall order, but you said you could do it. There is no R. Kelly exception. He has that guarantee too. She says, R. Kelly is not looking for any special treatment here. And this is when R. Kelly begins nodding in the courtroom. Here we go. Now, Bonjean, R. Kelly's attorney, says that prosecutors believe their evidence is going to show that he's a serial child sex abuser. That's what they believe. And it's true that R. Kelly is imperfect. It is true that on his journey from poverty to stardom that he stumbled along the way. We don't deny any of that. It is important when the government wants to paint him as a monster that you remember that we're talking about a human being here. We implore you to keep those emotions in check. I mean, because like she's bold, and I'm not sure if she like really thought this all the way through. Like the way that this was structured, it just didn't make any sense. Like, look. She says prosecutors believe their evidence is going to show that he is a serial child sexual abuser. That's what they believe, and it is true that R. Kelly ain't perfect. You know what I mean? Like following up against right after saying the government thinks he's a serial child sexual abuser, and it is true. But this says that he's imperfect. Like, girl, that don't even make no sense. Like, what are you trying to clear doubt? You needed to separate those. I'm not saying you couldn't have included those things in your opening statements, but why not separate those two, right? You followed by the most egregious thing, right? Egregious thing you led with, and then your next sentence is, it's true that he ain't perfect. Like, that doesn't make sense to me, but okay. Then you say he stumbled along the way from poverty to stardom. Oh, poor him. Poor him from working his way up from being poor to being a star, at which time he abused his power. But nonetheless, R. Kelly's attorney continues, and she reminds jurors to consider each criminal charge against R. Kelly separately. She continues with the claim that prosecutors waited over 2 decades to bring the case, and states that they build a case around hashtags, docuseries, and social media movements in a mob justice climate. I mean, you're talking about a mob justice climate, but I mean, Bonjean is literally leading the mob who is berating and harassing and talking crap about the victims / accusers. She doesn't mind when mob justice is working in her favor, and all of the Beehive are literally calling all of the accusers and the victims sluts, promiscuous groupies. She doesn't mind that sort of a mob justice climate, right? She's open to that, but closed to it when it comes to that being a revolving door and a two-way street working against her client. But okay. She continues with the government, which professes to care about justice, waited over 2 decades. Boom. She continues with video 4. Remember, I told you to put a thumbtack in video number 4 that is not available for the jurors to see. She says video 4 in this case doesn't exist, and it never existed. Bonjean. They watched the tape in 2008. Like, they watched it. What do you mean it doesn't exist? I mean, like, I get it. Her job is to discredit an exhibit, right? Especially if they're not going to present it. But like, girl, she continues and says, that's the video that the feds told jurors that they won't be able to see. R. Kelly's attorney, she then turns around and she tries to cast doubt on the credibility of Rashonda Landfair, Sparkle's niece, and says, we'll have to see if she testifies that she appeared in the key videotape with R. Kelly. Said further, here she is trying to villainize this woman, right? Like I said, the mudslinging has begun. It is a tactic. Dirty up the victims, remove all the credibility, question everything, whether they have it or whether they don't. They're definitely going to question and dirty up the the video number 4, right, which you're not going to be able to see. Bonjean says for the last 22 years, she has adamantly denied that it is her on that video. She's only now coming forward after 22 years, and she's testifying under a grant of immunity. Lying to police, perjury, all that other stuff. Presumably because she'd be admitting to perjury, but there could be other crimes. Okay? So not only are you saying she might have lied to law officials, she might have lied to the court, so on and so forth, but she might have committed other crimes too. Girl, stop it. Stop it.
Stop it! I have never in my life yelled at a girl like this. When my mother yells at this, it's because she loves me. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? Learn something from this. You go to bed at night, you lay there, and you take responsibility for yourself.
I'm telling you, this lady is bananas. BANANAS. Okay? Here she is. She says, the government's case really does hinge on the testimony of liars, extortionists, people who engaged in the business of trafficking pornography. She tells jurors that 3 key witnesses in the case against R. Kelly, they're criminals. Okay? They extorted them. They have immunity deals. They're only coming forward because they won't get any penalty. She also raised questions about the ages of some of the alleged victims when the sex acts occurred. Okay? It's around about this time that R. Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bonjean, at least his main attorney, brings her opening arguments to a close, in which by this point, she's accused the government's witnesses of extortion, child pornography. She even said that parents may have engaged in sex trafficking based on the government's evidence. So she took her seat and gave R. Kelly a pat on the back, whispered in his ear, and then smiled at him. I guess she felt like she did good. Did she feel like she did good? Right? Gave him a pat on the back, smiled at him and all that stuff? Okay, child. They then go on a break ahead of opening statements from Derrel McDavid's attorney. Okay? So now we get into the opening statements of Derrel McDavid. Okay? His attorneys move forward and they say that Mr. McDavid is not interested in posturing or pandering to these jurors. His defense will be all about what happened. Unlike some of what we've heard today, Mr. McDavid will never hide from the facts. Okay? So he's throwing somebody under the bus right now. He's saying that, look, we ain't trying to waste the jury's time. We done seen people in this court today wasting the jury's time, and that's not what we're here to do. I was telling you when we were covering day 1 and day 2, these people are going to get to rolling on one another in order to prove that they're innocent. And in order for them to say that they're innocent, if it means pointing the finger or blaming the guilt on somebody else, that is exactly what they're going to do. And that's where we are. Bonjean is definitely wasting people's time. Like I said, the judge gets her together a little bit later on as we keep going. Okay? So McDavid's attorney continues and says, doing your job as a lawyer and doing your job as a business manager to a superstar is not a crime. Being successful in your efforts is not a crime. They then begin listing various supporting characters in the R. Kelly saga from the early 2000s, including the late Chicago defense attorney, Edward Jensen. Look, this is where it gets a little interesting. It gets a little spicy, okay? Because Edward Jensen was working on the R. Kelly's case, actually representing R. Kelly, trying to portray his innocence, okay? And he gets brought into this situation. And mind you, he passed away in 2020, okay? This dead man ends up getting thrown under the bus, right? So McDavid's attorney says these are the people that Derrel McDavid hired to defend R. Kelly, which is exactly right. When it comes to Edward Jensen, right? Each of the acts that my client, Derrel McDavid, took were at the express direction and the esteemed group of professionals who agreed that they were the right and legal things to do. Lawyers and managers have to rely on their clients. And the central issue is, what did R. Kelly say to Derrel McDavid? You'll learn that R. Kelly denied it. And the woman on the tape denied it. Okay? Here's what's even more interesting about this former attorney of R. Kelly that's no longer with us, that passed away in 2020. The defense attorney who's actually speaking right now and speaking on this dead attorney, okay? This is an attorney who actually got their start in the legal field by working under the same company as this attorney. Okay. So McDavid's attorney also makes it known that my client intends to take the stand in his own defense. Okay. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Like, imagine sitting here working for your client and talking to the jury and saying, look, my client did what the attorney at that time told him to do. My client is innocent. My client had faith that the attorney, right, who was R. Kelly's attorney at that time, and this is the client is the manager, only did what that attorney told him to do. He didn't think he was doing anything wrong. That attorney told him to do it. The person that McDavid and the attorney is throwing under the bus is the same attorney who gave the attorney who is speaking his opportunity and gave him his start into the legal world, if that makes sense. Okay. So they continue explaining that they were the only people that McDavid entered into any agreement with, and that McDavid only did what they directed, what the legal team directed. So they are literally, okay, blaming their dirt on a dead man. My client was just listening to that attorney that I used to work for. Now, mind you, let me just keep in mind that this was when this was taking place, right? These people ain't making it to the pearly gates at all. When this was taking place, the attorney speaking hadn't worked for this attorney yet, right? So back in 2002, 2008, this attorney hadn't even got started yet. So it's not like he was working side by side with this attorney and he had some type of affiliation with it. Okay. So blaming your dirt on a dead attorney, child. I ain't making it to the pearly gates. Now, going back to the quote that each of the acts that Derrel McDavid took were at the express direction of the esteemed professionals that agreed that these were the right and legal things to do to best defend their client. This is how the attorney got his legal career started. Okay. Right now in the testimony in the courtroom, McDavid and R. Kelly's defenses, they're lining up at this point, at least when it comes to calling the government's witnesses criminals. Like, that's essentially what's going on here. So McDavid reasonably believed, according to what his attorneys are saying, he reasonably believed that the tape at the center of the Cook County criminal case was not legitimate and that Robert should be exonerated at trial. And because he believed that, there was never any intention to obstruct justice, his attorney says. Okay. Now, the attorney says one time, the attorney says that this is where Aaliyah's uncle gets thrown under the bus. Okay. Barry Hankerson, aka Aaliyah's uncle, at some point or another was R. Kelly's manager, right? They're saying that Aaliyah's uncle called R. Kelly's assistant to make a threat on February 4th, 2002, telling him a tape was coming out that was going to ruin Robert. Okay. The very same day, a call came from the Chicago Sun-Times, and the newspaper said that it had a tape of Robert and a minor. Okay. Fast forward to February 8th, just 4 days later, the same day that R. Kelly was scheduled to perform at the Olympics, this story was published. I did you all the liberty of going back and finding a screenshot of that very article. Okay. So according to McDavid, Barry Hankerson was threatening to release something or go to the press and letting the world know that, look, I'm going to ruin Robert by saying that there's a tape with minors. The story was published. Apparently, Aaliyah's uncle was willing to pay at least one woman, according to McDavid's attorneys. Aaliyah's uncle, Barry Hankerson, was willing to pay at least one woman to falsely claim that they had sex with R. Kelly while they were underage in order to get his story to stick and to ruin Robert. So honestly, I'm not really quite sure how this accusation would benefit McDavid in the long run, but it is a very interesting fact indeed, because Barry Hankerson has always said that he never knew anything about R. Kelly and underage girls, right? We know that the marriage to Aaliyah, the rumors about that, the rumors about the alleged pregnancy that Aaliyah had, there are rumors that R. Kelly made her get an abortion. They always prompted the general public to ask Barry Hankerson, Aaliyah's uncle, those questions about how could you send her off to be unsupervised with him, knowing about these rumors, which is how and why Barry Hankerson has always maintained, I never knew anything about R. Kelly and young girls. So it makes this pretty interesting. Mind you, these are all allegations from people who are trying to get off in court. Who knows how true these things are or they aren't, but this is what is being claimed in court. Based off of all this stuff, McDavid suspected at the time that there was some sort of a setup. Okay? Suspected that there was some sort of a setup at the time, and his attorneys made it clear that he allegedly could only act on what he knew at that time. And the fact that Robert and the girl in the video decided to lie about it back then made it impossible to prove that his managers did anything other than what they were supposed to do. Doing your job is not a crime, end quote, is what his attorneys say. I find it interesting within that verbiage. They say, well, R. Kelly and her, they decided to lie at the time. That's an admission that he's lying. So you know now that he was lying, or did you know then? Like, you're saying R. Kelly was lying about this underage girl situation. So McDavid's attorney also said that any and all efforts to get tapes from federal witnesses, from federal witness Lisa Van Allen, was led by Edward Jensen's law office. Again, the attorney who passed away in 2020. And these efforts stated to obtain whatever tape she had to determine what was on it. And Derrel McDavid says that Derrel McDavid never made anyone do anything, is what he's claiming. So again, this attorney, he got his legal career started working for or with Jensen, but this all transpired, the allegations of the tape retrieval, prior to when he began his work there with Jensen. And back in 2008, again, Jensen was representing R. Kelly and said this about R. Kelly being found not guilty. He says Robert was found not guilty because based on what was known to everyone back then, that was the right answer. McDavid's opening arguments come to a close and the courtroom breaks for lunch. Let's get into the rest of the opening statements and what the witnesses had to say as they took the stand. Make sure you drop some pancakes in the chat, hit thumbs up. We'll be right back.
So let's see if you're really proud about it. If you've been serious about what you've been saying about wanting to support more Black-owned businesses, here's your chance. I found a spot for us to grab our hats, hoodies, affordable electronics, phone accessories, and gadgets from. It's over on edwerso.com. That's edwersow.com. Grab something for your hubby, your wife. Hey, I ain't encouraging that side chick behavior, but it's just in time for the holidays. So head on over there and grab your AirPod cases, hoodies, and affordable electronics. That's edwersow.com, edwersow.com. And I'll see you over there. It's time to face it, boo. Your product needs more exposure. If you want to see your ad here on my channel, be sure to shoot an email over to yt.theplainestjane@gmail.com and let's chat. But if you're new in my neighborhood here on YouTube, hey, I'm the Plainest Jane, and I provide coverage and commentary on trending stories, viral events, and Black culture. I definitely appreciate you stopping through and hitting that subscribe button if you like more of my particular brand of syrup.
All right. We're back, child. Okay, yes, Leo. Are you happy to be here? I hope so. I hope so. Let's keep it going. All right. So they get back from lunch, and boom, here we go. Things are happening. Bonjean is pulling some tricks in this courtroom. She tries it. I don't know why she thought that this would work. It did not. Spoiler alert, this did not work. R. Kelly's attorney decided to slip in a motion for a mistrial, right? We're not even done opening statements yet. She decides, let me go ahead and try and say this is a mistrial situation. No. Within this motion, she is contending that McDavid's attorneys engaged in finger pointing and that McDavid was in fact a part of R. Kelly's legal team. I don't know what degree he has, but not that you have to have a degree to be a part of a legal team, but like, come on now. The motion was denied. Okay. She's trying to file for a mistrial way too early. It was denied. Okay. Moving on. Okay. Moving on. Now we get into Milton Brown's attorney, Milton June Brown's attorney. Now, remember, if you were watching yesterday's video, you know that yesterday the judge planned on doing opening statements, but time just didn't allow. It took him too long to go through the jury and things of that nature. And so for that reason, the judge asked them yesterday, a roundabout, how long you want to take for your opening statements? And when it came to the prosecution said they would take an hour. R. Kelly and McDavid said that they would need about 45 minutes. Brown said that they would only need 15 minutes for their opening statement. And the thing about it is, they did not lie about that. They literally made it really quick. They only took 15 minutes to go ahead and get Leo. What's going on? What are you trying to do? You trying to go over there? This co-host is out of pocket, y'all. All right. What's going on? We're going to act like we got some sense? So when we talk about Brown's opening statements, again, he starts off, their attorneys, actually it's a woman, starts off with the fact that the government's case against Milton Brown depends entirely on the benefit of hindsight, okay? Basically what they're saying is, look, had we known more now, have we known what we know now, then that wouldn't have happened back then. Essentially saying that we didn't know he was having sex with kids, right? Which we know, in my opinion, that's a lie, right? So let me place this definition on the screen as we get into what is being said here, okay? And look, how long are we? We 58 minutes into this thing. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Also, take a moment to subscribe, hit the notification bell, right? We've got 3.5 more weeks of the R. Kelly trial. I'm going to be here every day. You don't want to miss out when I go live and when I'm reporting on this stuff, okay? So let me put this image on the screen as we continue, right? This word, siloed, okay? So Brown's attorney says the government's case against my client depends entirely on the benefit of hindsight. They said that their client worked for R. Kelly in a carefully siloed system, right? Or siloed, however you want to pronounce that, in which every employee knew their place. Never did my client believe that going about his normal everyday work duties or by virtue of taking the job, they never knew that they were doing anything wrong. They didn't know it would take such a dramatic turn. So she basically ended up characterizing her client, Milton Brown, as a Kelly lackey who was merely following orders from his controlling boss, saying that her client had no way of knowing whether the R. Kelly sex tapes were genuine, real, or what was on it. Basically saying that R. Kelly deliberately kept all of his private dealings secret from lower level employees. And when rumors started circulating that R. Kelly was being blackmailed with a doctored sex tape, their client believed that, right? They're saying that was word around the camp. It's fake, it's bogus, and the client, Milton Brown, just bought that. Okay. So that is that. Let me see. Somebody said, wait, I thought the trial was over. That was the New York trial. Kelly's got a lot of different trials that he's got to face. Okay. Hey, R. Kelly's a dog head. Okay. So that concludes opening statements. Now, let's get into the prosecution calling the first witness. Okay. Because that's where we are in this situation. The first witness is called, and this is a retired officer, actually. His name is Dr. Derrel Turner. This is an expert, right? This is an expert witness that the prosecution, that the government side called. He's a psychologist who has worked with child sex abuse victims and offenders, okay? And he is there to testify about the sexual abuse of children and grooming behavior by pedophiles, and also the delayed reporting and partial disclosure of sexual abuse. Okay. So he ended up testifying about the power differential that makes the grooming process go much smoother, particularly if the offender is someone in a position of authority, such as a teacher, a coach, or a celebrity. Okay, let me go ahead and put this on the screen. This gives you a better understanding from one of the motions, actually. Okay, letting you know exactly what he's there for. And this was something that they placed in the files before the trial started. So they already knew what they were working with and how they wanted to, kind of refute what these quote unquote expert witnesses had to say. So what this retired cop, Derrel Turner, had to say is that it is extremely common for victims of underage sexual abuse to delay reporting that abuse is transpiring for years, and that victims who have been groomed frequently report feelings of love and protectiveness towards their abusers. Mr. Turner also testified that false allegations are extremely rare and usually come up in the context of divorce or custody proceedings. Okay. So someone said, oh, they're really moving this trial along. Yeah, this judge doesn't play. I was telling y'all earlier, this judge does not play. This judge has a reputation for moving things along and not allowing attorneys to waste the jurors' time. Okay. So let's see. The false allegations are rare. Okay. Now we get into cross-examination. And what's happening here is Bonjean, R. Kelly's attorney, gets the opportunity to go in and ask questions to challenge the government's witnesses. And so first thing she does is she points out that this psychologist, not an officer, that this expert witness never met or interviewed R. Kelly, okay, and has no idea whether the allegations against R. Kelly are true, okay? So R. Kelly's attorney asks this psychologist, have you ever watched the docuseries Surviving R. Kelly? And the psychologist responds, no, ma'am. R. Kelly's attorney then says, this is where she starts throwing shade at his degree. She starts picking at his qualifications, pointing out that a large portion of his teaching experience was with the University of Phoenix. And so what she ends up saying is that's an online school, right? Like clearly throwing shade at the fact that I guess he got his degree primarily online. Okay. Ouch. Not what is it? Not ICDC college tees, not that. But yeah, that's the again, if they're going to sit here and call people who are actually in sex tapes being assaulted when they're minors, if they're going to call them promiscuous groupie hoes, you know nothing's off limits. So if you got an online degree, that's nothing compared to some of the mud that they're slinging at the victims / accusers, right? So nonetheless, after she gets done clowning his online degree, she asks about the rates of false reporting of sexual abuse by minors and some of the motivations for it. And we were discussing that a little bit earlier. They were saying that they're rare and they typically come up in the context of divorce or custody proceedings. And so that's, yeah, Everest College. Lord have mercy. ITT Tech. So let's get into the second witness that the prosecution called, okay? Let's see how much we got left. We really don't have a whole bunch left. So y'all already know what time it is. Y'all know what time it is. We got to get y'all turned up. I got to get y'all to hit the thumbs up button a little bit more. Yes, I'm going to keep talking about it. Share this joint on Twitter. Let's get into this R. Kelly remix while y'all throw some pancakes in the chat. Subscribe to the channel and hit thumbs up, okay?
Baltimore, I can't see you. Where you at?
Y'all killing me with this. I can't help. I can't.
Robert.
I will. You're killing me, man. This ain't not about music. I'm trying to have a relationship with my kids, and I can't do it. Y'all just don't want to believe the truth. You don't want to believe it.
At this point, we briefly pause the interview to give Kelly a moment.
Man, y'all killing me with this. Y'all killing me with this. Y'all killing me with this. Y'all killing me. Y'all trying to kill me. Y'all killing me with this. Y'all killing me with this. Y'all killing me with this. Y'all killing me with killing me, man. Trying to kill me. Killing me, man. Trying to kill me. Y'all want to believe it. Trying to kill me. Killing me, man. Trying to kill me. I hope this camera keep going. Stupid R. Kelly. Fight for my life. Stupid R. Kelly. Do it. Stupid R. Kelly. Fight for my life. Stupid R. Kelly. Do it. Oh my God.
Okay. Y'all know how we do. That's that Baltimore club mix. Shout out to Baltimore. Born and raised, still here in Baltimore. You might hear the accent, you might not. If y'all be hearing my accent, my Baltimore come out, let me know. Drop an 8 in the chat if you be hearing my accent come out sometimes. Drop a 10 in the chat if you ain't never heard my accent. But some people be coming at me with the dude to Doug, all that other Baltimore stuff. Whatever. Shout out to Baltimore, okay? We got our problems just like Chicago. Not as bad as Florida. But yeah, shout out to Baltimore. Oh, shout out to Atmos in the chat too. Shout out to Atmos. Thank you so much. Atmos does some R. Kelly stuff as well. So y'all see this comment that I have pinned on the screen? Check this channel out because Atmos does some R. Kelly stuff as well. Atmos be reading all the motions like word for word live and different stuff like that. So you definitely want to subscribe to him in between watching my videos too, if you want that type of content. Okay. Oh, it's like a mix between 8 and 10. Okay. All right. So, because I really don't be hearing my Baltimore. I really don't. Unless somebody pointed out. But nonetheless, let's get into the second witness that was called to the stand today. This is the prosecution's witness. This is a woman named Anne Meckelborg, right? Literally Anne Meckelborg. Anne Meckelborg is the senior managing director for the Recording Academy, which administers the Grammys, okay? Now, prosecutors are showing her R. Kelly's list of 26 lifetime Grammy nominations and 3 wins. R. Kelly does have 3 Grammys. And the 3 Grammys are all for 1997's I Believe I Can Fly. And this witness, Miss Anne, she also was able to confirm and testify to that as well. She confirmed that he got the 3 Grammys for I Believe I Can Fly. He won for Best R&B Vocal Performance, Best R&B Song, and Best Song Written for Motion Picture or Television. R. Kelly also performed at the 1998 Grammy Awards. Okay. Honestly, I think that the reason why, and I said this like as I'm taking my notes, like as things are happening, I start taking my notes as soon as court starts at 10 a.m. Right. So I'm not like having to put all this together later. And I'm like, why do they have this woman here? And I'm like, you know what? I think that they're trying to establish, what they're trying to do here is establish the influence and power that R. Kelly welded back in the late 1990s and 2000s. That's pretty much my thought of what they're trying to do. Now, jurors were told, this is where it's about to get crazy. Okay? This is where it's about to get crazy. Jurors were told that the evidence in the case would transport them back in time, right? Sounds like they're putting you on a damn time machine or a ride in Universal Studios. This case is going to transport you back in time. And they were told, but you probably didn't think that you'd find yourself watching the 1998 Grammy Awards. Literally at this moment in the court, you could hear someone say, right? They throw on the recording. Says, every once in a while, a song comes along that touches us all in a way that is out of the ordinary. So there was a curtain that lifted up. The camera zoomed in, and jurors were able to see R. Kelly at the height of his fame. He was 31. So this was 98. They seeing R. Kelly and this recording of him performing in 98. He was flooded with blue spotlights in front of a giant video of a soaring bald eagle. Okay. And then literally, right, they literally started playing this 1998 performance of I Believe I Can Fly in the courtroom. I told you earlier, they're trying to establish the power that and the superstardom, right? And the influence and all that he had from back in the day. So they start playing the I Believe I Can Fly performance. Again, reinforcing his image of him being this powerful superstar. Okay? I just couldn't believe that they were playing this goddamn music. I'm like, what's the purpose? I think maybe it could be used to assist in the power that he had, to help convey the fear that the witnesses who were afraid or paid off, who had some apprehension with coming forward against him, right? When someone has a high level of influence, money, and power, people do tend to be a bit more frightened. But I can't lie. It was probably about 2-3 o'clock today when I saw that they were playing I Believe I Can Fly in the courtroom. And I'm like, what the hell are they doing? What are they doing? And the thing about it is, you know, have you ever listened to a song and not even known who sang it, but you at least like know one line of the hook or the chorus? Maybe for people in the courtroom, because there are a couple of jurors who said, I don't know who he is. I have no clue. If they didn't know who he was, I'm pretty sure if they heard that song, I just feel like you can't really find too many people on this planet who have never heard that song before. Not I Believe I Can Fly. Okay? Nonetheless, child, they start playing this thing in the court. Now, prosecutors say that at the time of the performance, R. Kelly had been having sex with his 14-year-old goddaughter for 2 years. That's the zinger, right? They play this I Believe I Can Fly performance and say, take a look at this. This was monumental. Every once in a while, a song, you know, it comes along that touches us all in a way that's out of the ordinary. Look at this music. We all know this song. Yeah, he was fucking his goddaughter who was 14 at the time for 2 years. I mean, damn. Like, what a way to bring people down. If they were listening to it and kind of having nostalgic moments or whatever, they say, yeah, at this time when he was doing this, he was abusing this power and this recognition. And I said, oh my God. It's just like, wow. Wow. Okay. Here's the thing. Despite the fact that this is being played to convey him as a monster who abused the fame and fortune and influence that he had, R. Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bonjean, seemed very pleased that the courtroom got to hear one of R. Kelly's biggest hits. She literally, where's Leo? Let me. Okay, I see you right there. It's okay. So here's what Bonjean did. Okay. Wait, let me place my hand on your shoulder. Because this is what happened in the courtroom, Leo. What happened? She placed her hand on R. Kelly, her client. Leo's my client here. She placed her hand on his shoulder in solidarity as they watched. They were happy that song was playing. They said, yeah, because my client's talented as hell, ain't he? We happy about this. Leo's tired of me holding his shoulder, but I'm holding it though. But this is what happened in court. They happy about this going on. They happy about the music. Can y'all believe that? Can y'all believe that? Darlene, thank you so much for the $5 super chats. I did see those. I didn't get to them earlier because I was trying to stay on track. But I did see that you sent two $5 super chats, and thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Admin sent something that I can't see here on StreamYard, but I can see it on my phone, and it says, "We love you, the plainest Jane. Great commentary." Thank you so much, Admin. I really do appreciate that. Okay. So they said it sounds ghetto as hell. Yes, it's ghetto. It's ghetto. It's very ghetto. But nonetheless, let's get into cross-examination of the second witness, who was this woman from the Recording Academy, a senior managing director, which administers the Grammys. Let's get into this cross-examination. Okay. And shout out to the 30 new people that just dropped in here. Make sure you hit thumbs up and subscribe if you want daily coverage of the R. Kelly trial. All of that stuff is appreciated and it's free. Okay. Cross-examination. Here's R. Kelly's attorney going and asking questions to this government witness from the Grammy Academy. She asks, and this is where the judge gets not too snippy, but a little snippy, and tells her to calm down and move the fuck on. R. Kelly's attorney says to this woman, she says, "Were you aware that the complaining victim's father in this case was on the album Love Letter, which was nominated for a Grammy in 2011? Let me repeat that, right? You got the prosecution's witness from the Grammy Academy. R. Kelly's attorney in cross-examination, were you aware that the complaining victim's father in this case, talking about Sparkle's niece, right, that he was on the album Love Letter, which was nominated for a Grammy in 2011? She also asks the same thing about the Chocolate Factory album from 2003. Now, when she asked this question about the complaining witness's father, she asked it a third time, okay? And the prosecution, the woman actually from the Grammy Academy, she says, "What was his name?" That prompted the prosecutor to ask for a sidebar. If there's one thing that you don't know about this judge already, right? Judge Lenny, he doesn't do all of these long sidebars and unnecessariness. Now, a lot of this stuff went on in New York. I cannot lie. However, this judge doesn't play that. So these questions are pretty irrelevant, in my opinion. And so she's asking about the victim's fathers being on certain albums. And the prosecutor asks for a sidebar. R. Kelly's attorney literally says, "Relax." Not relax. As soon as she said relax, Judge Lenny said, "Ma'am, move on. It's time for you to move on." Literally told her to move on. I was telling y'all earlier when I was covering days 1 and 2, and if you follow me on Twitter, you know I was posting this stuff over the weekend as I was reading up on this stuff. This judge will move things along in a heartbeat. Okay? In a heartbeat. This judge does not play. Right? Hence the reason why the judge told her to move on, because she's wasting the jury's time. And I was able to tell you in yesterday's video that I was able to get word from one of the prosecutors who has tried many criminal cases in front of Judge Harry Lennon Weber, who said that this judge doesn't play with excessive sidebars. This judge doesn't play with the excessive sidebars because he doesn't like to waste the jurors' time. Not to mention, this is a courthouse that's still under Rona 19 restrictions. And if this case just so happens to spill over, it's going to mess up for future things that they have scheduled as well. Okay. So her actually being in court, telling people to relax after she asks questions. She's asking these questions to throw people off, to catch them by surprise, so that sort of a body language is picked up by the jury, right? Nonetheless, right? Shout out to Atmos for sending a $9.99 super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Says blessings. Thank you, Atmos. Let's get into the third witness. And this was actually the last witness that was called before the court ran out of time today. Right? Third witness is a retired Chicago police detective. His name is Daniel Everett. Now, Everett previously testified that he received the infamous R. Kelly sex tape from the Chicago Sun-Times music critic Jim Derogatis. It sounds good when I say it like that, right? We just call him Jim. But nonetheless, this is when this retired cop, who was the third witness for the prosecution, he says he received it in 2002 because Jim actually said that he received it by mail. He said he just received it. Someone sent it to him one day because he worked for the newspaper. And that's how it ended up on this retired Chicago police detective's desk. Now, Everett says he was assigned this case in October of 2000. Now, keep these dates in mind. Everett previously testified around about 2002 about this. However, he was assigned this case in 2000, 2 years prior, after an anonymous tip involving allegations of child abuse from regarding a known celebrity with a minor child. Obviously, the minor child in this video was R. Kelly's goddaughter, Sparkle's niece. The third witness from the prosecution, Everett, says that he interviewed Rashonda Landfair at a small shoe store in Oak Park. This retired cop says, Jane informed me that R. Kelly was her godfather and that he never abused her and never would do anything like that to her. His report noted that the allegation was unfounded. He gets a tip. He does investigating. The victim says it never happened. Obviously, if they go ask R. Kelly's going to say it never happened, right? Since he's supposed to be the perpetrator of the situation. And Everett says that on February 1st, 2002, which, mind you, we got into a February 4th date of 2002 earlier, of when allegedly Barry Hankerson, Aaliyah's uncle, the article that he had allegedly threatened, he threatened to go to the media on February 4th. That was the day that was moved forward, right? But this retired cop is saying that on February 1st of 2002, he received a copy of the tape from the journalist, Jim, and he immediately recognized the girl on the tape as Rashonda Landfair, as the girl that he had interviewed with her family at the shoe store. Because again, he got the tip in 2000. This is 2002 when he's seeing this tape. He immediately recognized her. And he says, when he was asked how he was able to recognize her, he was specifically asked, did you recognize her from her facial features because you met her in person? He said, exactly. I've recognized her facial features because I met her in person. So he proceeded to walk jurors through this, his specific child porn investigation into R. Kelly and how he searched and took pictures of R. Kelly's house on West George Street in Chicago, which he said had several similarities to what was seen on the sex tape. So he began talking about R. Kelly's bedroom, okay? And he says, quote, after viewing the video, it was very obvious that this was the setting where the sex tape took place, end quote. Now, with the new developments, right, in the situation from 2000 to 2002, when he started looking into this and the positive ID that he was able to give, police then tried to re-interview her, Rashonda Landfair, and her family, you know, Sparkle's niece and her family, but they were unable to get contact with them because they were paid off to avoid and lie to law enforcement, allegedly. So it starts getting juicy and then it ends. It starts getting juicy and then it ends. So this is where the direct examination, because you got direct examination and the cross-examination. Direct examination ends, and therefore Everett is expected to be cross-examined first thing in the morning. So you'll catch R. Kelly's team asking some hard-hitting questions to try to shake them up, to try to get some fear and correct answers or some inconsistencies in what it is that they have to say with regards to their testimony and the trial in its entirety, really. I do want to get into the R. Kelly fans and how they acted at their child, because did they try to get Robert's attention in court? Hell yes. Hell yes. They ain't act crazy outside the court, but they definitely was shaking a little tail feather at the end of the court session. Okay. They said, I bet the book is a good read. Child, we never know. We never know. Okay, Leo, you're gonna have to wait. Are you gonna wait? Okay, well, I hope you do. Wait, what's going on? What's going on? No. All right. Let's get into these R. Kelly fans, okay? 545 of us in the chat right now. 350 likes. We 200 likes short. What's going on? What's going on? Okay? Here's what I want to know about these R. Kelly fans. Here's what I want to know. How is it that R. Kelly fans and the Beehive, you know, the people who are waiting to be drenched in R. Kelly's urine, how is it that they were able to watch the docuseries and they believe that the victims were lying, but they don't think that a juror could have watched the docuseries and also felt that the victims were lying too? Why is, I just don't understand that logic. Can somebody help me understand? Can somebody help me? You came to the conclusion that they were lying, but you don't think anybody else. So you want people who haven't seen it. Why? If it was full of lies, other people should be able to sift through that, right? I mean, I just don't get it. Nonetheless, let's talk about how they was acting. Okay. Aw, somebody in the chat getting blocked. They don't need to be timeout. They need to be blocked. So we can go ahead and just go ahead and block that person. So and shout out to the Beehive for being present in the chat. Listen, look, when y'all come through here, it lets me know that I'm doing what needs to be done. I'm considering doing a stream where I let y'all call in and y'all can talk about your opinions about R. Kelly, and I can talk about the facts, and we can really have a decent debate. Some people want to see it. Some people feel like they don't deserve my platform. If you can come through the chat and continue to be respectful, right? We can have a day where y'all can call in, right? We can have a day. I do think that I'll end up hanging up on quite a few of you, because quite a few of the R. Kelly fans, they aren't able to debate their facts with respect. They have to be condescending and disrespectful, and that just lets me know that you're fragile and that you've already lost the argument. The fact that you can't just like state the facts in your opinion without trying to get grimy, right? See, because I don't have to get grimy to call R. Kelly a piece of shit. because it's the tapes. And unfortunately, I've seen one of them because I was a child when it came out and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know what revenge porn was. I didn't know anything. So I know that R. Kelly is a piece of crap. And I've heard him say in them tapes, give me that 14-year-old. Yeah, let me take that 14-year-old. So yeah, we can debate one day if y'all got sense, but I know a lot of y'all are just remedial as fuck. Remedial. Okay? So it could be entertaining, but it also could be draining too. We don't know. Okay? Somebody in the chat don't understand what the P-Hive is. The P-Hive are R. Kelly fans. Okay? That's what a P-Hive is. So when it comes to the R. Kelly fans, actually, the P-Hive trying to get R. Kelly's attention in the courtroom, because they were there. They were there in the courtroom today, including one woman that had R. Kelly's name tattooed on her upper arm. Now, I had showed you the footage before of the woman who had R. Kelly tattooed across her chest. Okay? And I'm gonna dig that clip out of the archives again so I can show that to you tomorrow. But as the court adjourned and R. Kelly was escorted back into custody, many of his fans actually ended up saying, goodbye, Robert, right? Because look, one thing they're not going to do is they're not going to act a fool in this federal court. They're on the 25th floor of the Chicago courthouse. They're not going to, they're not trying to be held in contempt. Okay. So they waited until court was literally adjourned to beg for his attention. Goodbye, Robert. R. Kelly court win. He caught it. And he waved to them as they left the court. So R. Kelly's fans were trying to get his attention in court, and they got it. Okay? This person sends a $5 super chat. It says, let me help you out with pronouncing his last name. It sounds like DeRogatis. DeRogatis. Okay, that makes sense. His parents could have spelled that with the U-S at the end. DeRogatis. Jim DeRogatis. DeRogatis. Okay. Jim DeRogatis. Yeah, it's a little catchy, actually. I know what he looked like. When I see difficult last names, I'll be like, child, I'm going to just use that first letter. Jim D, child. Jim DeRogatis. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. UCBX, I appreciate that. DeRogatis. All right. And that is that. That's literally all that happened at court today. R. Kelly fans begging for his attention. Bye, Robert. He waved at them as they walked out. They got their little acknowledgement for the week. I'm pretty sure they're going to be masturbating to the end of the year, peeing on themselves, happy that they got that little wave, child, for a man that they are never going to be able to see outside of shackles. Baby, R. Kelly does have another upcoming trial. Don't want y'all to forget that there is another trial after this. He faced this New York trial. He's in Chicago now. There's a Minnesota trial that is going to transpire when this one is done. So when I tell you R. Kelly is not going to see the light of day, I'm not saying that to be facetious because I'm hoping things go bad for him. It's already realistically bad for him. Okay. He was sentenced to what he was sentenced to in New York, 30 years, although he won't serve 30 because it's not a consecutive sentence. It's a concurrent sentence. Then you've got him being sentenced for this situation. We know that people who have already been convicted for such crimes and they're facing trial again for the same or similar crime, they're going to be sentenced harsher, right? Not to mention, this is about child porn and whatnot, which when you've already been convicted and you're standing trial of this again, you have a high probability of getting life. Life. You know what I mean? Life's life. Life's life. Life's life. Life's life. Y'all got it? Leo, not you. Yes, not you. We're not talking about you. What you going to jail for? What you do? What you do to go to jail? That's what yeah, what's going on? Yeah, what is it? What's the cat talking about, y'all? Okay, Leo. Get it together. Get it together. Oh, you know what? You know what I meant to tell y'all? Because I just seen this little McDonald's picture. Here we go. Do y'all see this? Let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all something. Apparently, yesterday, R. Kelly had McDonald's for lunch. R. Kelly had McDonald's for lunch yesterday, right? And one of his groupie reporters ended up making that known to us today. I won't even name him because he's just, I just can't. However, he said, look, they don't need to be giving my man's McDonald's. It's just a bad look. It's bad optics. Do you know how many teenagers, male and female, he's recruited from McDonald's? The infamous rock and roll McDonald's in Chicago. He recruited several children to have sex with, male and females, from that very McDonald's. He's always hanging out at the McDonald's, and it just so happens to be a McDonald's with a play place. That ain't no damn coincidence. You got McDonald's with the play places, the spots for the kids, the McDonald's without them. It just so happens that that R. Kelly's favorite McDonald's has got a play place. R. Kelly and McDonald's in the same sentence. I mean, R. Kelly and anything in the same sentence, but come on. Y'all feeding him McDonald's knowing goddamn well he used that establishment to prey on kids. And that's what he eating for lunch. I know he happy as hell, though. He typically be in jail and whatnot, and he ain't got no McDonald's to get there, but due to the fact that he's in court here, he's getting McDonald's. Even his fans know that this is just not a good look when it comes to optics. I'm talking like when you talk about reporters, and I don't even want to call him a reporter, but he's been there for all the trials. Although he's so biased because he loves R. Kelly, and likes to call all of the victims and accusers sluts and hoes. He's like, look, this is not a good look for my man's. Why would they bring my man's McDonald's knowing of the rumors and the reputation that R. Kelly has? Why would y'all give him McDonald's? Okay. Y'all should have took his ass some Arby's or some Wendy's or something, right? Like, stop playing. Stop playing. Okay? Stop playing. They said quarter pounder with cheese. Yeah. That's what happened today. But nonetheless, that is what happened on trial today, and that is pretty much it. What are your final thoughts and unanswered questions as it pertains to this trial and how it's playing out so far? It's only just beginning to get spicy. I do predict that it will get a bit worse. I do think it'll get worse in the sense of more entertaining. You know, last time it was so entertaining in the sense of entertaining is not the right word. It's a byproduct of how salacious the last trial was. That's a better way to put it. All types of crazy details. They were saying that naked women were popping up out from underneath of a boxing ring, and they were on leashes, and I mean the salacious nature of it. That R. Kelly, masturbated and ejaculated on this woman's girl's face and told her to leave it there and let it dry up, and for her to let it dry up until he got back, and then he got back with another person, and he wanted the other person to see what he had done hours ago after it had already like dried up and hardened on her face. Just crazy. Completely. I mean, just Not you going to do that and tell her to leave it there, don't wipe it off, and hours later it's still there, and then you want to show somebody. Like, he need to stop.
Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to grow up. Grow up. Tired of telling y'all to grow up. Y'all need to stop it. I'm tired of it, y'all. You ain't finna wear me out.
Just out of pocket. I will never be able to forget that. I got sick the whole time I was crafting the title that day and making the thumbnail that day. It was horrible. It was horrible. So that's how explicit and illicit things got during around the last trial. This is definitely mild in my opinion compared to how gut-wrenching the entire trial was last time. But we haven't gotten to the point where the jury has had to watch or explain, and the reporters, the sworn in federal reporters, are actually reporting on the sound and the audio of explicit tapes of him having sex with minors, because they even get to reporting on the reaction of the jury when they have to watch these tapes. The reporters, oftentimes when we're dealing with like a child porn case, the reporters aren't necessarily able to see the child porn. They may be able to hear the audio of the child porn, but they aren't able to see the child porn. Only the jury is able to see that. But despite the fact that the reporters aren't able to see the video, they're able to see the reaction of the jury, which also lets us know a lot as far as how disturbing the footage could potentially be for the jurors. So I think that that'll tell us a lot as well when we get to that point of knowing how the jury responds to having to see 3 tapes of R. Kelly having sex with children. Okay, so that's that. I'm not looking forward to that. But it is something that I do have to report to you all because that's what I signed up for, right? That's what y'all come here for, is my R. Kelly commentary. So shout out to all of you. I appreciate you. And thank you to everyone, especially from last year, who hit me up and even let me know that I was mentioned by the New York Times. I had no clue. I would have never known I was mentioned by the New York Times unless someone would have came forward and a couple of people hit up my DMs like, Jane, you are in the New York Times. I couldn't believe it. So shout out to the people who really supported all that I did last year, all of my hard work and dedication. Some of them videos had over 500,000 views, right? There was none of my R. Kelly videos when I covered the trial last year that had less than 85,000 views. So the ones that didn't do as well probably had about like 85 to 90,000 views. The ones that did the best, the highest that I saw was like 575,000 views from one of the R. Kelly trial days that I covered. So I'm pretty good and thorough, not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good and thorough at covering this stuff and taking you all on a journey of blow by blow, day by day, what's going on in the courtroom synopsis. And I do my best. And a lot of times these people aren't getting out of court until late, right? So some of the updates that I'm getting are like past 8 o'clock. So nonetheless, look, thank y'all all so much for being here. Okay. Thank you all so much. Okay. I wouldn't want to be a juror on this case. I wouldn't want to see I don't blame. I wouldn't want to be a juror on this case either. Nonetheless, listen, everyone, be sure to tag me in your favorite trending topics on Instagram and on Twitter. Y'all know I'm on Twitter more than anything. I have a really bomb sticky note coming up for you all tomorrow, and I'll probably get back into inserting the sticky notes into these videos. And I typically put my sticky notes in videos where I'm covering several subjects at one time, but I do remember that the sticky notes were a part of the R. Kelly trial coverage that I did last year. So, I'm doing my best to recreate the format that you all fell in love with last year. And I just appreciate you all for even remembering me when it comes to R. Kelly. Okay. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you for checking the community tab. Shout out to all 500 of us that are here at 1:49 in the morning, 10 of 2. Make sure you hit thumbs up on your way out. It's free. It is the very least you can do. If you want to have access to tomorrow's trial coverage and every other day's trial coverage of this R. Kelly situation saga. Make sure that you subscribe, and hitting that notification bell is also very crucial as well. Let me know your thoughts on all the things that we discussed today. Don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. But make sure you think critically and independently, regardless of what you hear from me or anybody else. You all make sure to throw some pancakes down below in the chat. And make sure you stay beautiful, black, and blessed. Until the next video. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Deuces.
But that's it. If you want to catch more of my commentary on Black culture,
Leo, what is it? You want the other treat while the people watching? Here. Shit. Hey, wait. We trying to. But whoa. Okay. All right, buddy. All right. Is that good? Is that enough? Is that enough? That's it. Come on now. All right, come on. Get down. Get your cat butt out the way. People don't want to see that. You're flashing. You mooning them. Get down. Leo, can you get on?
You better get on. Get on.
Please get on. Thank you. Okay. Bye. I will catch y'all tomorrow. Deuces.
But that's it. If you want to catch more of my commentary on Black culture or vital and trending information, be sure to subscribe by hitting that little circle in the middle of the screen, or I'll catch you in one of these rectangles to the right in another video. I'll see you there.